After the exposition, a fugue normally alternates entries of the subject, appearing in various related keys, with episodes. An episode is just a passage where the subject does not appear complete. However, the episode's material is usually based on motives from the subject and/or the counter-subject, combined into new melodic lines. This is an interesting aspect of fugal development, generating new melodies from familiar motives. The vast majority of fugal episodes are just harmonic sequences, contrapuntally elaborated. They may or may not modulate. The student should already be familiar with different kinds of sequences from harmony study. The fact that sequences are relatively predictable helps make the episodes less intense than the entries of the subject, allowing the form to breathe. There are two kinds of contrapuntal sequences used in episodes. In the last lesson, we looked at the codetta of the E-flat major fugue from the Weltebert Clavier Book 1. This is an example of the first kind. The sequence here starts in the third beat of measure 4 and includes the last two beats of the subject. It goes on through measure 5. The harmony of the sequence is shown, reduced after the double bar. The lower part here is based on motive 4 of the theme. The upper part is a variant of motive 3. In this kind of episode, each part simply repeats its own motive, moving up or down step by step in the sequence. Note how, on the last beat of measure 5, the pattern of the sequence changes slightly. Usually sequences do not repeat the basic unit more than 3 times without at least a bit of variation. Now an example of the second kind of sequence. Again, the underlying harmony is summarized after the double bar. This kind of imitative episode is somewhat more common. Here, motive 4 from the theme alternates between the outer parts. Notice how airy the free parts are, just a few eighth notes and lots of rests. This kind of transparency helps direct the listener's ear toward the important element here, which is the imitation. The lighter texture also provides a contrast to the denser fugal entries. In fact, in fugues with 4 or more voices, often one part will completely drop out during an episode, and then the next entry will arrive in that resting voice. Sometimes an episode can be reused later in the fugue. Here are measure 30 to 34 of the same fugue. This is clearly a variation of the episode we examined above from measure 6 to 7. The bass and the harmonic structure of the two episodes are identical, as are the basic motives. Sometimes an episode will be made up of 2 successive sequences. This is called a double episode. Here's an example from the same fugue. Measure 22 and 23 here are based on the first part of the subject. In measure 24 and 25, the texture and the motives change, starting another sequence. This second sequence is also lighter in texture. Although the right-hand part is written as 2 voices, it almost sounds like one voice in a compound line. Once again, this kind of lighter texture is very common in episodes. The above episodes all include little modulations. Such modulations, normally to closely related keys, add harmonic interest to the sequence. A modulating episode can also be used to move to the new key for the next entry of the subject. Using the expositions written for Lesson 18 as a departure, the student should add an episode to each, modulating to a closely related key. Then have the subject and counter-subject enter in the new key, accompanied by free parts, also based on motives heard in the exposition. Another episode should follow. It's important that the episodes begin and end without bumps in the texture. If a voice drops out, it should stop after a melodic cadence. Voice leading must be smooth as well. Often, the main motive in the episode will be derived from something heard in the preceding bar, as in the coda above. This makes the joint into the episode more subtle. Here's the procedure for writing an episode. 1. Choose the motives to be highlighted in the episode. 2. Write out the leading line in sequence in one voice with block chords underneath outlining the harmony. 3. If the episode is the imitative type, distribute the main motive between the parts. 4. Add the secondary parts, making sure to keep the overall texture fairly transparent. And 5. Check the joints before and after the episode to ensure that they flow smoothly. This lesson and the preceding one have explored the mechanics of writing a fugue, the answer, the exposition, the episodes. The next lesson will discuss the fugue as a whole as a musical composition.